I didn't expect my life to pivot on a cold Tuesday morning, but sometimes the smallest, most unexpected moment grabs you by the collar and drags you straight into a storm of emotions you never knew you needed. I was exhausted, half present, and barely holding myself together when it happened. The wind was sharp, slicing across the parking lot behind our office building in Denver, and I was just trying to survive another day at a job where I felt invisible. But when I heard the faint, trembling whine of something helpless in the alley, something inside me stopped. Something inside me woke up. And I didn't know it then, but that sound would become the beginning of the most unexpected connection of my life, one involving a lost dog, a broken boss, and a question that would change everything: what reward do you want? A kiss, maybe? Before we go further, if you believe in kindness, in second chances, and in how small acts can change lives in ways we don't see coming, please like, comment, share, and subscribe. It truly helps this channel grow and keep stories like this alive. I had been working under my boss, Emily Carter, for 3 years. She was respected, brilliant, and intimidating in ways only someone who carried too much responsibility could be. She moved through the world with the confidence of someone who controlled every second of her day, every detail of her image, every choice she made. But underneath that polished composure, I always felt there was a layer of exhaustion she refused to acknowledge. I never tried to get close. She was my boss. She existed in a different orbit, one where people like me were barely background noise. That Tuesday morning, though, as I followed the sound into the narrow alley lined with dumpsters and cracked concrete, my world collided with a piece of hers in the most unexpected form, a small golden retriever curled into himself, shaking so hard his fur rippled. His collar was scratched, dirty, and barely readable, but one thing was clear: he didn't belong out here. He kept lifting his head at every sound, hoping someone familiar would appear. The desperation in his eyes hit me like a punch. I knelt beside him slowly, moving like he was made of glass. When I touched him, he flinched, but then, as if recognizing the warmth of someone who meant no harm, he let his head rest against my fingers. His breathing steadied. He trusted me instantly, in that pure way only animals and small children do. I whispered that everything was going to be okay, even though I wasn't sure I believed such comforting words anymore, not for myself, at least. I slipped my jacket around him, lifted him carefully, and carried him to my car. The tag on his collar finally revealed a name: Milo. And below it, something that made my heart skip: if found, contact Emily Carter. My boss. My unreachable, untouchable boss. The woman who ran departments with military precision and who, just last week, hadn't looked up from her laptop long enough to notice I had worked the entire weekend. Milo was her dog. And he looked like he had been missing for days. When I brought him to the office wrapped in my jacket, heads turned. People whispered. Management seemed shocked. Someone hurried into Emily's office. A moment later, she came out faster than I had ever seen her move. Her face wasn't composed this time, it wasn't polished or firm. It was devastated. Terrified. Human. She froze when her eyes found Milo in my arms. Then her breath broke, like something inside her cracked wide open. She rushed toward us, dropping to her knees as she took him from me with trembling hands. Her entire body shook as she held him against her chest. I had never seen her cry. I didn't think she was capable of it. But there, in front of half the department, she buried her face in Milo's fur and sobbed like she'd been holding the world together with fraying strings. After a long moment, she lifted her gaze to me, eyes red, voice thin and breaking as she whispered, how did you find him? I told her everything. The alley. The shaking. The way he looked at every sound, hoping for her. She pressed her lips together, swallowing hard, and nodded as if she couldn't put her gratitude into words. Then, in front of everyone, with her voice still unsteady, she said something that would echo in my mind for the rest of the day: I don't know how to repay you. What reward do you want? A bonus? A day off? A kiss, maybe? The room went silent. People blinked. My heart jolted. But her tone wasn't flirtatious or playful. It was lost. Emotional. Like she was speaking without filtering herself because she had been terrified of never seeing her dog again and didn't know how to process relief this overwhelming. When she realized what she had said, she blinked, shook her head, and corrected herself quietly. I didn't mean that. I'm sorry. I'm overwhelmed. Please, come to my office later. I told her there was no need for a reward. Seeing Milo safe was enough. But she insisted. I didn't argue. Later that afternoon, I walked into her office unsure of what to expect. She was sitting on the floor beside Milo's dog bed, gently rubbing his head. He looked up at me with calm eyes, no longer shaking. Emily looked different, too. Still tired, still worn, but softer somehow. She motioned for me to sit. She told me Milo had slipped out through a damaged fence during a storm. She had been searching for him non-stop for 3 days, barely sleeping. She had been blaming herself endlessly. And underneath her explanation, I sensed something deeper: guilt, fear, loneliness she had tried to hide behind professional walls. As she talked, I realized something I had never understood before: people who look the strongest on the outside often carry the heaviest storms within. And sometimes, they become so good at appearing unbreakable that they forget how to ask for help when they're drowning. Over the next week, something changed between us. Not in a dramatic, cinematic way, but in subtle shifts. She thanked me again, genuinely, not the polite managerial kind. She asked how I was doing. Really doing. She listened. She remembered small details I never expected her to notice. And she smiled more, something rare and strangely meaningful. Milo, of course, became my unexpected bridge into her guarded world. Every morning, he would trot over to my desk when she brought him in, tail wagging, as if reminding her, "That's the human who brought me home." And she would follow with a look that felt warmer each time. But life doesn't change without its complications. The more we talked, the more I realized she was carrying something heavy at home: a divorce finalized only a month before, a sense of failure she couldn't shake, and the crushing pressure of leading a company department while her personal life crumbled behind her. She wasn't just a boss. She was a human who had forgotten what it felt like to lean on someone else. One evening, after everyone had left, I stayed late finishing a project. Emily stepped out of her office to check on me, but when she saw me rubbing my temples from exhaustion, she sighed in a way that sounded like concern rather than frustration. She sat across from me, hands clasped, and for the first time, she let her guard drop completely. She said she had felt alone for months. That losing Milo had shattered the last piece of stability she had. And that me finding him wasn't just a kind act, it felt like someone saw her when she felt invisible. Hearing that stunned me. I had always thought I was the invisible one. And yet, here we were, two people who had passed each other hundreds of times without understanding the quiet battles the other was fighting. In that moment, something shifted again, gentle, unspoken, but real. And though she didn't bring up that emotional slip from the day Milo was found, the meaning behind it hung quietly between us. Not romantic. Not impulsive. Just human connection at its rawest. The weeks that followed were full of small moments that built upon each other. She trusted me with things she once hoarded within herself. I helped her when work became overwhelming. She encouraged me when I felt inadequate. Milo adored me, and she noticed. And slowly, we both healed in ways neither of us expected. As winter settled over Denver and the office prepared for the holidays, Emily called me into her office again, this time not out of obligation, but warmth. She told me she was grateful, not just for Milo, but for everything that had followed. She said I reminded her that kindness still existed, that not everyone wanted something in return, and that sometimes the right people enter your life not with